journey of self-discovery. Today we're going in-depth now into the practical applications. Anybody remember the 4 steps of Bhakti? A, B, C, D. Alright, what does A stand for? Alright, B? Book reading. C? And D? Diet. Yes. Good. Okay, then what are we going to talk about today? So we'll talk about each in depth and what they really mean in life. So we're just coming off a very festive celebration. How many were able to attend any of the 4 days celebration at the temple? Most everybody? Yeah. What did you think? Auspicious?
So much fun, pleasure, blessings.
Blessings, fun, happiness. Yeah, very sweet festivals. So the festivals will continue throughout. We have coming up on Sunday Gopashtami. That is when Srimati Radharani disguised herself as a cowherd boy to experience the Leela of being in the forest with all the cowherds and Krishna. We also have coming up in early December this Gita Jayanti, which is the day in which the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So it's a very auspicious event that day. And a few others, so we'll talk about them as those days come. But as Srila Prabhupada said, almost every day can be a festival. And that is really what spiritual life is. So, let us discuss now the practical applications of Bhagavad Gita in our daily life. And again, the goal here is to have some very tangible walk-away activities that we can start practicing in our day-to-day life to bring spirituality to our life. So we talked about, the 5 steps. Accepting that we are sick. I've acquired this material body, and there are some different afflictions that we get from it. This old age, disease, death, difficulties of the mind and body, and other living entities, of nature. So these problems are there. And we know we have to go to the hospital. What kind of hospital do we go to?
Right hospital.
The right hospital. And what's the right hospital for the soul? That is the purpose of the temple. We should view it as such. It is a place to find answers and to find soothing enrichment for the soul. That is the purpose of the temple. And we know when we go, we must also find the right doctor. Not just somebody, in a couple of days we'll be having Halloween. There'll be many such doctors running around. But I don't think we'll go to them when we're sick. We may give them some candy, but we'll not go and get medical advice. So a uniform is not sufficient. Well, we must find the bona fide acharyas who come in Guru Parampara, who have received this knowledge through disciplic succession, who have realized this knowledge, and who are practicing it. And that they can then, in turn, instruct all of us. So this is the doctor. And of course, the doctor always tells us, okay, if you want to get healthy, avoid certain things and do certain things. So we have 4 principal activities that we should avoid because they create the path for sinful reactions. What are those 4 activities? Any? Yeah? Gambling.
No
Alcohol. Intoxication.
no meat eating,
Meat eating. Yeah?
no illicit activity.
Yes. So these 4 things are to be avoided. And importantly, just avoiding those 4 things does not make spiritual life. Right? That is the negative. But spiritual life is actually an active process. It is a process of activity. And in summary, bhakti, which is the term bhakti is translated as devotional service. Service and devotion are 2 key words. So we know when we want to express our devotion, our love to somebody, well, there are many ways to do so. We may say to our mother, Mother, I love you. But the ultimate way to show our love is to render some service. Right? If I render some service, that is the ultimate expression of my love. Words are nice, actions carry even further. Right? So bhakti is the activity in service that is an expression of our love to the Lord, to our eternal Father. So we should think about that as we are performing different activities. Sometimes we can get into a mechanical routine where we perform rituals, we perform activities, and we forget the most important ingredient, which is our heart. Our heart is the most important ingredient in the practice of devotional service. It is the love that the Lord is relishing in our service. So that we should keep foremost as we think about devotional service. So we talked about these ABCDs. And, I gave everybody this exercise long ago, earlier in the summer. I'll give it again now if anybody would like to take. But if you want to see how these things really work in action, how it is a very tangible and measurable and experiential result, I said you take out a sheet of paper, and again, you write down 5 things that you would like to improve in your life. 5 things, anything you pick. And you put it into an envelope, seal it, and put a date 6 months from today. And you start practicing these ABCDs. And of utmost importance, the C, the chanting. And then you open that envelope 6 months from now, after having practiced steadily, and you decide whether the result was there or not. What experiences you have had in that practice, and then from there, you can determine your path forward. And what you'll find is very practical and real improvements in our life. Whether it's through stress, whether it's I'm often too angry, I'm not sleeping well at night, my mind is always racing, I'm having struggle with time, priorities, so many things, being too impulsive, whatever it might be, you'll find very practical experiences. And that is the wonderful thing about bhakti, is that when we render service to Krishna, there is a reciprocation, there's a response. Right? When we render service to our mother, an example, there's a response. Right? And that response is what inspires us or encourages us to do more. If there's no response, no reaction, it's very difficult to continue. So that response is called rasa. It is the impetus to render more service. So when we serve the Lord, there is a response back. And that response is so profound that it inspires us to do more and more. And that is how the process works. So it's not something theoretical where we do, and hope at some point in the future something good happens. No, all along the way, we'll get the experiences that will inspire us to carry forward and further into. Okay? So let us talk about each of these now in detail. I'm going to tell quite a few stories today, so hopefully you're in the story mood. If you brought some popcorn, you can eat some popcorn. So, association. Shakespeare said, "Tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are." A very profound statement. Because we know that we tend to acquire the qualities and characteristics of those that we associate with. And we also tend to align ourselves with people of similar qualities. So Shakespeare said, I just need to see your friends, and I'll know who you are. Right? And we see this in families. Children, they tend to carry the culture and the values of the family. I remember I had one friend I grew up with, and he had the foulest mouth. And I wonder, at a young age, how was his foulest mouth? And then one day I met his father. And then I realized, okay, this is where it comes from. There's association. This is what happens, right? So where we associate, we acquire. That's why we tell our children, be careful, associate here, don't associate here. Because we know in association, we acquire those qualities and those processes. Right? So, and association works in both directions. Good association leads to good qualities of heart. And bad association leads to bad qualities. So, it is a double-sided, and we have to be very thoughtful about association. And when we associate with spiritually inclined folk, our process of also developing a spiritual inclination grows. And I think I gave the story, Srila Prabhupada was once asked by a devotee at Father December, how can I become a nice devotee? And Srila Prabhupada said, well, if you want to be a drunkard, associate with drunkards. And if you want to be a nice devotee, you associate with nice devotees. And by that way, you will acquire those qualities. So this is association. And in our Shastra, it says, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kaya, Lava Mata Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi. So it says, Sadhu Sangha. All of the Shastras say that was just a lava matra, a moment's association. A lava matra is compared to the moment of the blink of the eyelid. How long is that? We don't even perceive it. Right? That small moment of an association with the sadhu is sarva siddhi. All of the benefits, potencies in spiritual life are acquired from a moment's association. This is how powerful this positive association is. And particularly with the pure devotee ones. And there are many ways to associate. We'll talk about those in a few minutes. But I told a little bit of this story. But this is the story of Mugari the hunter. And I want to give a little bit more detail. This pastime is explained in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Madhya Lila, chapter 24. And here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is explaining to Sanatana Goswami about the different aspects of this Atma Rama verse that appears in Srimad Bhagavatam. And he's speaking about the importance of association. So in that he tells this story, so it's quite appropriate for this topic. And Mugari the hunter was a very interesting personality that we'll hear about. So Narada Muni is a transcendental personality. He's a transcendental spaceman. He can go anywhere. So he had just come from the spiritual world, and he was on his way to Prayag to take bath in Triveni, where the confluence of the three rivers. And he was walking along the path, and he saw one boar, big animal, and his body was pierced, and his legs were twisted and broken, and it was squealing in great pain and agony. And then he carried on forward a little bit in the path, and he saw a deer in the same condition, body pierced, legs broken, and squealing in great agony. And then he carried on further, and he saw a rabbit in this way, and he said, what's going on? So he came a little bit further on the path, and he saw one hunter into the forest. And so he left the path and started walking towards this hunter. Now this was Mugari, the hunter. He has a very dark hair, black hair, reddish eyes. And Narada Muni started walking. But as Narada Muni started walking towards the hunter, all the animals that were in sight of the hunter fled. And so Mugari became disturbed. Why you have come off the path to see me? And he was about to, engage his rage. But he had some intelligence. He saw this was a sadhu, a saint. So he backed off a little bit. He said, what is your, purpose here? And Narada Muni asked, he says, I have a question for you. May I ask you? He says, yes, you can ask. He says, are you the doer of what I have just observed? These animals, few animals that are just squealing in pain and half killed. Is that yours? He says, yes, that is my doing. He says, why you have done this? What is your purpose here? He says, well, my name is Mugari, which means the enemy of the animals. And I have been taught by my father this art of hunting. And when I hear the squealing of the animal, it gives me great pleasure. And we can see now, what's the power of association? To most of us, hearing that, it makes us cringe. It makes us, very uncomfortable. But with association, the most extreme and devastating, can seem like bliss. And so to Mugari, he was enjoying as if it was musical notes being sung. And so Narada Muni, said, Mugari, can I ask you a favor? Mugari says, yes, you can ask me a favor. Do you want some skins? I have many varieties of skins. You can have any of them. And Narada says, I'm not in need of any of your skins. I'm here to give, not take. So, but let me ask you a favor. He says, what is it? He says, you don't kill the animals like this. Instead, you kill them right away. Because killing the animals, you're incurring sin. But killing them the way you are killing them, you're incurring even more sin. By making them suffer. Human life is meant that we should give no disturbance to animals. Yet you are intentionally giving extended suffering. At least if you have to kill, just kill them. But don't keep adding your sin. And Mugari says, really? I did not know. And now you see, he has a humble disposition. He's not arguing. He says, really? And then Narada Muni continues. He says, these animals, the way you have killed them, know that they are waiting their turn to return it to you. So as you have done to them, they will do to you life after life. So the amount of the times this will happen is incalculable, given your history of this. And so all of this sin is waiting for you. And then Mugari became heavy-hearted, thinking, wow, what to do? So he inquired. What do you think he asked?
What is the way to come out of it?
How do I get out of it? Is there any way out of it? What can I do? See, he was intelligent. Even though he was performing some heinous action, yes, due to some association, he had intelligence. He understood sadhu. He took a humble mood, and now he inquired, is there a way I can overcome this? Did not know. And then Narada Muni says, yes, there is a way. You can become fully liberated from all of this. And of course, Mugari said, what? Tell me more. I want to know. So then Narada Muni says, okay, first step, you break your bow. Now Mugari gets to the test point. Break my bow? If I break my bow, how will I feed myself and my family? This is the only skill I know. Right? And then Narada Muni says, you don't worry. I will arrange for your food every day. You just break your bow and follow my instructions. So, and so now we see, what did Mugari show? Surrender. He understood. He had faith. He broke his bow. He fell at the feet of Narada Muni and said, please instruct me on what is best for me. This is the perfection of what we can do. We can approach Krishna through Guru Parampara and say, okay, I'm ready to break my old ways. Tell me, what is the way forward? And have faith. So Mugari had faith. Narada Muni is a man of his word. He'll take care of him. So Narada Muni said, okay, I want you to simply do this. You give up all of this nonsense and you establish one Tulsi plant. You worship her, you circumambulate her, you offer water to her, and you chant the Mahamantra. Just this, and everything will become fine. So Mugari said, okay. He immediately abandoned all of his activities and became a Vaishnava, a devotee, and began practicing. And what happened? All the local people became stunned at how Mugari, this very heinous hunter, became an elevated Vaishnava, and everybody was coming to see him. And when they were coming to see him, what they would bring? Yes, prasad. And they were bringing so much food stuff for him every day. Magari is saying 20 people's worth and only 2, me and my wife, are there. You take a little bit and send the rest back. What he was going to do? And like this, he was carrying out his life. And then Narada Muni is once meeting with a Parvata Muni. And he calls Parvata Muni, come with me. Let's go see this Magari. See how he is doing. Is he carrying on? How is he performing? And so they goes into the forest and they're walking. And Magari sees Narada Muni coming from some distance. And he's coming. And he sees he's like tiptoeing and he's like sort of dancing. He's not walking in a straight line. And then as he approaches Narada Muni, he is wanting to offer dandavas, but he could not go on the ground. Why? Because there were some ants scattered here and there. And he did not want to crush the ants with his body. Just a little bit earlier, he was enjoying the squealing of half-killed animals. And now, he's not even wanting to harm an ant crossing in the path. And he shoos them away with his cloth, and then he offers dandavas to Narada Muni, who grabs his feet and says, oh, my Guruji, thank you, it is such a blessing. He receives him into his home, gives him a nice place to sit on mats, washes his feet, and then both Parvata Muni offers nice food stuff. They engage in some dialogue. And Parvata Muni is struck. And he says, Narada Muni, you are a touchstone. What is a touchstone? You take iron and you touch it to this touchstone, it becomes gold. He says, you have taken Magari the hunter, the darkest and darkest of personalities, and transformed him into the brightest Vaishnava. Amazing. Narada Muni says, this is the mercy of the Lord. But this is sadhu sangha. Lava matra sadhu sangha. Just a moment of association can undo a lifetime. Not only one lifetime, many, many lifetimes prior of heinous activities. And this is the great power of association. But we must take advantage of it. Because Mugari could have argued with Narada Muni. That's not association. What does association mean? To become inspired. To open the heart and to accept and understand. And he asked questions. How do I do this? What can I do? How will I eat? He got an instruction, break the bow. He asked, who's going to maintain it? Practical questions. But he had a humble mood. And thus his transformation happened. Sometimes we wonder, how long will it take for us to purify? That is in our hands. That is in our hands. The power is there of association. Lava matra, one blink of the eye, is the time it needs for sarva siddhi. All of the potencies. Another similar example, I won't go into the same detail, is Valmiki Muni. He was known as Ratnakar. He was a highway robber. He was plundering. And he met again who? Narada Muni. And Narada Muni asked him one thing. He said, why are you doing this? He said, to maintain my family. He said, okay, do one thing. You go home and you ask your family, are they willing to share in the sins that you've acquired by your pursuit of wealth that is maintaining them? Are they willing to take a share? He said, of course they are, right? I mean, they're benefiting from this. So he goes home to his family and he asks, and what do they say? You're on your own. Ratnakar comes flying back to Narada Muni. They said, no, what do I do? He says, you give up your nonsense and you practice spiritual. I'm shortening the story. He was so fallen when Narada Muni said, what activity do you think he asked him to do? Chant. What did he tell Mugari to do? Chant. And he's going to tell Ratnakar to chant. This is the process in all time. But he was so fallen, he couldn't say Ram. So he said, okay, no problem. You say Mara. You know how to say Mara. So he was chanting Mara, 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 which becomes Ram. purified by his chanting. That he became the Acharya, the authority of the Ramayana. Even Lord Ram's own children, Love and Kush, they heard about their father from who? This is the power of association and chanting. One can go from the lowest rung of life to the high. And we may think, well, this is nice, but what about today? These are all ancient stories. We see this today. When Srila Prabhupada landed in New York in 1965, he started uptown, the well-to-do area. But then he went down to the Bowery. The Bowery in the 60s was like the dungeon. Low class, full people on drugs and intoxication and people sleeping in the streets and just very degraded condition. Cultured people would not even step foot in that area. The stench was so foul of vomit and urine. I mean, it was a totally filthy place. And Srila Prabhupada was the shining gem at 26 2nd Avenue. He opened a small storefront. The storefront itself was named before he stepped in Matchless Gifts. And he was offering the truly matchless gift, which was the holy names, the Bhagavad Gita, Prasadam, and association. A, B, C, D. To these 4 things. Whoever stumbled into his storefront, I mean, literally, some of them were so entitled they would stumble in. And after a little bit of time, they became the most stalwart devotees of the Lord. Gave up all of their bad habits and acquired all of the good habits. How? By association. So this is not some ancient myth that doesn't apply. It's alive even today. And we see it even now. It's happening every day. People are becoming transformed by this through association. So I mentioned this association. It's like the charging of our battery. We need association to keep our battery strong. When the phone is disconnected, disassociated with this charger after some time, it dies. So we have to frequently, regularly plug it back in. That is association. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that association is like a fence. Bhakti, our process of devotion, it is delicate. In the 19th chapter of this same Madhya Lila, he explains that Bhakti is Lata Beach. It is a creeper, a vine. We know a vine. A vine is 100 years old. Still, it's very thin. With one scissor, snip. So our Bhakti is like that. It grows tall, but it stays fragile. We have to protect it. And he tells Sanatana Goswami, what is the protective mechanism of your devotion? Association. When we associate with devotees, we protect our most cherished asset, our devotion. So this is like when you're growing a small tree, so that doesn't get trampled by the foot traffic or the bicycles or the cars. You put a fence around it. Similarly, the fence around our bhakti is this association. And so what does association mean? There's 2 powerful ways that we have in our association that Srila Prabhupada established. One is like this in our Bhakti Viksha settings, where we discuss philosophy. We have opportunities to understand different shastras and take prasadam and chanting. We'll do all ABCDs each time. And then in the temple, the Sunday Feast program Srila Prabhupada established, where we gather as a community and we render service to the Lord and we experience the bliss of devotional service. The children attend Sunday school, we attend class, there's dinner, prasad. It's a little bit more informal, but very powerful. But this 2-step process of association, just a few hours, 168 in the week. We give an hour or 2 for Bhakti Viksha, an hour or 2 for the temple. It has a powerful charge to our battery. So during the week, as we're experiencing all the the nuances of the material world. We have the strength and power to manage through that. But we know if we miss too many in a row, what happens? You'll see it. You'll see it. When you stay consistent in association, that battery stays strong. But as soon as we move away, it becomes weaker. So this is the power of association. Books. So reading is very important. And books are the basis, Prabhupada said. So, so many scriptures are there. What to read, how to read, what to do. So these books, this Bhagavad Gita, which we'll be distributing to all of you today, and Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavad Gita contains the essence of all knowledge. Within it, everything that we need to know is there, and then it's expanded upon through stories and explanations in Srimad Bhagavatam. And it pulls from all of our different Upanishads and all of our different Purans so that we get a complete picture through this very concise teaching. And it is the wonderful opportunity we have. And this Bhagavad Gita has so much knowledge. And this is, I brought a few quotes. This is from the Gita Mahatmya, which was composed by Lord Shiva. When Lord Shiva heard the Bhagavad Gita, he went into ecstasy. He was ecstatic. And Parvati Devi is saying, what is the source of your ecstasy? You've been away from me. What is the source of your ecstasy? And he composed these very beautiful prayers that are contained in the Gita Mahatmya. And he glorifies the Bhagavad Gita. And I just pulled a few of the verses. And he says, this Gita Upanishad, the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads, is just like a cow. And Lord Krishna, who is famous as a cowherd boy, is milking the cow, extracting the essence. Arjuna is just like a calf, and learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of the Bhagavad Gita. Let there be one scripture only, one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. Let there be one God for the whole world, Sri Krishna, son of Devaki. Let there be one mantra, one hymn, the chanting of his names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Let there be only one work, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can see every word. Ekam Shastram, Eko Devo, Eko Mantra. Let there be one. Focus. This is the last one I think I compiled. Bhagavad Gita is spoken. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of God, one need not read any other literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in material activity that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literature. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literature. And especially because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of God. So these are just some of the statements that Lord Shiva makes in his Gita Mahatmya. And there are many others, but you'll get the essence. And so this is a very powerful thing. And I wanted to show this. Today is a very auspicious day. It is the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada. And so this is Srila Prabhupada. I'll provide some context for this. He is just about to leave the world. And we might think of this as, a very inauspicious or sad time. But actually, when the pure devotee, their appearance and their disappearance are equally auspicious. Because these pure devotees, they don't live through their form. They live through their words. And the words are captured in their books. And so Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter, what's going to happen when you die? And he said, I will never die. And he wasn't being some, bold magician. He's saying that my words will live through the books. And he worked tirelessly. His schedule for writing books, he would wait, everybody would go to sleep. And he would also take rest at 10 o'clock at night. And he would wake up at 12 when everybody was sleeping after 2 hours of rest. And from 12 to 4 a.m., he would pour through all of the different Puranas, all all the different scriptures, and he would compile the purports based on commentaries of the acharyas into these books. He would speak into a dictaphone, and then devotees would type what was spoken from those dictaphones into these purports. And he would do this every day, no matter where he was around the world. And then he would get up at 4, finish at 4, take bath, attend Mangal Arati all day, engaging in different activities, giving classes, training disciples, showing worship. And then at night, again, 2 hours rest. He gave up all of his sleep to bring these books to us. And so they're very, very powerful. And this is just a quick read.
We should always seek
You can read.
good association, devotee association. Then on life will be success.
In the lessons of the Gunas, Satvadayo, Jnana Vikshepa, Moha, Hetavaha.
If we live with good association, then we cultivate knowledge. That means association. And man is known by his company. So, if we have the chance of association with devotees, then our character, nature, they don't be.
So you can see
By hearing,
that this, I was just watching this today and I was struck that he's talking about association. And this is the second to last purport, I believe, that he dictated before he left this world. And so you can see the importance of association, but how these books came into being, the direct words coming in translation, very, very powerful. So how to practically read, in my recommendation, pick a convenient time daily that has worked for you. Some people like to read in the morning, some in the evening, whatever is convenient. Keep your Bhagavad Gita visible, so you walk by it, you see it, it's a reminder until the habit is formed. And you can read 1 page per day. 1 page takes about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. You can finish the whole Bhagavad Gita in 2 years. And if you're more inspired, you can read 2 pages, 5 minutes, and you'll finish it in 1 year. Before next Gita Jayanti, you'll finish if you start today. It seems so, but it's not 700 verses, right? So 365 days, 1 or 2 verses a day. You can finish it quickly, but the power is amazing. And what happens when you read, those who took the read, you'll find this miracle, I guarantee you. You'll have some questions, something that is troubling you, some doubts that you have. And then you'll pick up and you'll read, and in that purport comes an answer. And you're like, how did he know? And that first time it happened, okay, that's a coincidence. About the 10th time that it happens, then you realize, these are spiritual books. Very, very powerful. So just a small amount of reading every day is supremely powerful. Of course, we'll be reading as we gather weekly, reading from the Bhagavad Gita in more detail. But your own reading is important. And don't worry if you have a hard time to understand or follow. You can silence that, please. We'll silence it. So, don't worry if you're not exactly able to follow what's happening. Just keep reading. And as you read, your absorption will come. And as we discuss those verses in our discussion, they'll become to life. So don't become too hung up on that. But just develop the habit of reading. Very, very powerful. Okay, now chanting. This is, one of the most important, the most important thing that we can hear in doing this whole seminar. We talked about how to turn Gyan into Vigyan. Right? We knew when the medical student, they study. But do they become a doctor just by studying? They have to practice, and they need
Practical application.
But they practice, and they need one more thing. Huh? Who do they practice under? Themselves?
No. Senior doctor.
Senior doctor, right? They need somebody to teach them. They need a coach, teacher. How did you get your driver's license? Somebody taught you how to drive. You studied the book, but then somebody taught you how to drive. Everything, right? So two things we need to take Gyan to Vigyan. Knowledge to realize knowledge. We need practice and we need a coach. So sadhana is our daily spiritual practice. It is important to our success. Like Beethoven's practice of the piano every day is what made him a world-renowned pianist. For a doctor, their steady practice of medicine is what makes them a renowned doctor. A marathon runner, their daily training regimen is what makes them a successful marathon runner. And we know the better the training, the better the practice, the better the result. So it's the same thing in spiritual life. We must put forth our effort. And the best and most powerful and most important practice that we do every day is our chanting. This is our sadhana. And the better we do in our training and our chanting, the better the result. Okay? So this is, again, the most important thing. If we forget everything else, but just remember this, nothing is lost. Because by the practice of chanting, all this knowledge will slowly be revealed to us. And it will sink deeper and deeper into our consciousness. So if you forget everything else, no worries, nothing is lost. Just remember these next 4 slides. This important process of chanting. So first, what does mantra mean? Mantra means man is mind, tra means to deliver. So mantra means to deliver, to free the mind. Our mind is absorbed in so many things that we cannot let go. And sometimes we get these thoughts, why do I keep thinking about this? Just move on, move past it, right? We're trying to free our mind is attached to all these different conceptions, most of which are not serving us. And how to become free of that? It is through mantra. Mantra meditation is the powerful process to uplift the mind to a higher place. Not to negate the mind, to try to shut down the mind. No, but to elevate the mind to a higher level, the level of the spirit soul. So this is what the mantra is in the mantra meditation. So the question becomes then, why this mantra is so emphasized? Right? What is the importance of this and why this chanting is so much discussed? We see Narada Muni, he gave this instruction and seemingly this instruction only. Just chant. So let's understand why first the importance of chanting. So this is the medicine to cure our disease in this age. As we've spoken before in the Brihan Narada Purana, the verse that goes, Harinam, 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 Kevalam, Kalo Nashteva, 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 Gatyarnyata. So in this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Nashteva, Nashteva, Nashteva. Then, the holy names of the Lord, holy names of the Lord, holy names of the Lord. How many times is it said? 3 times. We only say something 3 times if we really want to emphasize it. There is no other way. And what it happens is, in all yugas, there is a particular yuga dharma, a particular process that is the potent process. The ailment is the same. Just like a doctor will treat the flu for a senior citizen, for an adult, and an infant. The ailment is the same, flu, but is the treatment the same? No. It is based on each time, place, and circumstance. So similarly, in Treta Yuga, the dharma of that yuga is meditation. So one can perform intense meditation. When one has the form, in Treta Yuga, how long the average human life is? 100,000 years. So the ability to get into the depth of meditation required is feasible. We cannot even meditate for a few minutes without the mind going hither to thither. I'm sorry, I said Treta, in Satyuga. In Treta Yuga, the Yuga Dharma is Yajna. elaborate fire sacrifice. Now these yagyas are not what we think about. These yagyas are whole sacrificial arenas have to be built and constructed. Huge amounts of ghee and grains and other things need to be assembled. Then priests who can chant the mantras have to be assembled. And the mantras have to be chanted in such a way that if there's in the whole days and days and days of chanting, if even one syllable is missed or stuttered or mistimed, the whole yagya is gone. And you have to take everything down and redo everything from ground up. This is the level of, actually it's not even, none of them work in today's day because we don't have the qualifications. But in Treta Yuga there people used to live, the human life was 10,000 years. Everything is going down by a factor of 10. Then in Dwapara Yuga, it is elaborate deity worship, Archa-Vigraha worship, where the deities are worshipped and adorned with jewels and gems and opulent offerings, very intense. We do a little bit of Archa-Vigraha here, but not at the scale of that. There in Dwapara Yuga, people live for 1,000 years, max. Now in Kali Yuga, what is the max lifetime? 100 years, and even less and declining. So in Kali Yuga, what is the way? It is through chanting the holy names. So each yuga has a specific process, and that is why this chanting process is so emphasized. Now, where this Mahamantra comes from, this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In our Vedas, we have millions of mantras, all very, very auspicious, very, very powerful mantras. But where this mantra itself comes from. So each yuga also has a specific Mahamantra. And in the Kali Shantana Upanishad, there are 108 principal Upanishads. And one of them is the Kali Shantana Upanishad, that is the Upanishad related to the age of Kali Yuga. And it is a conversation between Brahmaji and Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is seeing that after Krishna is left in Dwapara Yuga, the conditions of the world are degrading very quickly. The culture, the values, things are fucked. And Narada Muni is saying, how in this very degraded condition will anybody take to spiritual life? And Lord Brahma says, don't worry, Narada Muni. Krishna has bestowed in this age a very powerful process and mantra. It contains 16 words and 32 syllables. And this mantra, and then he gives the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He says, this mantra alone will give deliverance to all humanity. So powerful it is that Krishna has put all of his energies, all of his Shakti into these holy names. And so by this process, everyone will be relieved. So this Maha Mantra is very, very powerful. And it's called the Maha Mantra because it contains the essence and potency of all other mantras. So it is the all-in-one process. By chanting this one mantra, we get the benefit of all other mantras. As I mentioned, all authorized mantras carry potency, carry great power. But within the Maha Mantra, we get the power and potency of all others. And thus it is established as, and then again, this is not a matter of opinion of one or another. This is coming in Shastra, specifically the Kali Shantana Upanishad. So this is the specificity and why. And it's the most important and powerful method of devotional service. It's the best process to cleanse the heart, to purify the mind, to become free from all of our past sins, and to help us, protect us from incurring future sins. This single process is the means. And the beauty of it is simple, yet highly effective. Sometimes we wonder, in its simplicity, does it work? That's why, nashta eva, nashta eva, nashta eva. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. This is the way. So don't be fooled by its simplicity. The potency of the holy names are incredible. And you try it, with the exercise we told earlier, and you'll see yourself how powerful these holy names are. More than any self-help book, more than any counseling that can do, just take it is very, very powerful. So I'll tell a few stories. See, chanting of the holy names, they are non-different from Krishna himself. Now, how to understand it? If you are thirsty, if you chant water, 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 will that quench your thirst?
No.
Why? Because the name water is different from the substance water. They're not the same. But when I chant the name Krishna, 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 there is no difference between the name Krishna and Krishna himself. Because all of his energies are invested in his name. Meaning, they both have the same potency. If the name water had the same potency of the substance water, then it would satisfy my thirst. So Krishna has put all of his Nitya Sarvasaktis. All of it is in the name. There's no difference. So when we chant, we are getting the potency of the Supreme Lord dancing in on our tongue. And once Hanumanji learned this lesson the hard way, but in a sweet way. So he was flying around, and once he heard the beautiful names of Lord Ram being chanted. So of course, Hanumanji became excited, and he descended into the courtyard of his home, and he's hearing beautiful bhajan of Lord Ram. So he went into the temple room of the home. Nobody is there. Oh, maybe he's in the kitchen making bhoga for the Lord. So he went to the kitchen. Nobody is there. Went into the living area. Maybe he's taking rest. And then he saw, no, it's coming from the washroom. And so Hanumanji waited in the courtyard. And the man came out, was chanting the nose of Ram, and Hanumanji gave him one slap. How you can chant the names of my beloved Lord Ram in the bathroom? Dirty place. Don't you know? And the man became, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I'm so attached to the names, I can't stop, but I'll never do that again. And he said, good. You must know, chant the names in a clean place. So like this, the Hanumanji finished his tour, went back, and saw Lord Ram. And he's seeing Lord Ram, he offers obeisance to his feet, and he looks up. He said, huh? Lord Ram had a bruise on his face. He says, who has done this to you? I'll kill them immediately. Who has hurt you? He says, oh, you'll kill them immediately. He says, yes. He says, did you have an incident today, Hanumanji? He says, no. Oh yeah, I had one incident. I had to correct one gentleman. He was chanting your names in the washroom. And what'd you do? I gave him one slap. He said, don't you know? I am not different from my names. When he was chanting my names and you slapped him, you slapped me. And thus I have this bruise on my face. Hanumanji understood it. Krishna, Ram, they are not different from their names. Then we know this pastime. What were all the Vanara army putting on the rocks to float them? So one night, Ram says, these devotees are writing my name on the rock and it is floating. I wonder what will happen if I just throw the rock. They're writing my name and they're floating. Something amazing might happen. So Lord Ram goes and he takes one rock and he throws in the water. And what happens? Whoop, sinks. What? There's a second and a third. And then Hanumanji comes and says, Ram, don't you know? Your names are even more powerful than you. You have to write your name on it, then it'll float. Lord Ram himself. But this is the potency of the Holy Name. So powerful. And they bring amazing experiences. This is one more story I'll tell. This is the story of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was a great devotee. He was Namacharya. He was chanting 20 hours a day the holy names of the Lord. And the Mohammedan king of the area became very envious of him. So he sought to defame him. He said, let me, defame his character, and then nobody will pay attention to him, because he was getting a lot of fame because of his absorption in the holy names. So like, any king, they tend to be envious. So he sent one prostitute to entice Haridas Thakur. So very late in the night, he sent this very, beautiful prostitute. And she came to his doorstep. And he said, whatever you've come for, no problem, but let me finish my japa, and then whatever you have come for, I'll attend to. Just wait. So she said, okay. So he continued chanting his round. And this continued until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. By this time, she gave up, said, I'm going home. This man is not going to, come to me. But then the next night, she becomes determined. It comes back. And same thing, comes in the evening, 10 o'clock. He says, let me finish my japa. Once I finish, whatever you come for, I'll attend to. So like this, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, she leaves, he finishes, she's gone. Well, third night, she comes. Same thing, 10 o'clock, same story, so she waits. But this time she stays back. And after he finishes his japa, he says, what do you come for? He says, well, I have actually originally came here for ill intent. But by hearing you chant the holy names, Lord, my heart has become fully purified. And I have no desire for my prior profession. And I ask you, please, engage me in this chanting of the holy names. And she became a pure devotee of the Lord and became one of the acharyas of chanting also. Very illustrious. But you can see, she came to disturb the process of Haridas Thakur. And in fact, she became fully, positively disturbed in purification. This is how powerful the holy names are. We know the story of the Vishwamitra Muni. When he was performing his intense meditation, and he was gaining great power. So, when the demigod sent Menaka there to disturb his meditation. And how his meditation became disturbed? Not by seeing. Simply by hearing the ankle bells of Menaka approaching, his meditation became disturbed. And of course, engaged in relationship, they have family. You can see the compare and contrast the power of bhakti to purify the heart, to control the senses, to deliver the mind to a higher place compared to all other processes. So this chanting is very, very powerful. And so how to practically chant? I want to spend a few minutes here. So my first request is, it's 10 minutes, one japamala, 108 times. It's less than 1% of your day. Everybody has time for this. If you try it and you do it every day, it's critical. The important things in our life we do daily. Do we eat daily? Do we sleep daily? Hopefully we bathe daily. Yes. We do these things, hopefully call our mother and father or loved ones daily. Yes. The important things we do daily. Take to this chanting of the holy names and do it every day, without fail. This is the important part of our practice. And if we do, you'll see amazing results. And when to chant, you can chant in the morning, that is great, but if that is not feasible, chant in the afternoon. If that is not feasible, chant at night. But any time, just chant the holy names of the Lord. And as we learn that actually even anywhere we can chant. So take to the process. Krishna has made this as accessible as possible, without so many rules and regulations. Just take to the process of chanting. So 10 minutes a day, every day. Morning is ideal in the Brahma Muhurta time, but again, whatever is feasible, but take to we often get questions, why do we chant on the Japamala? I'll be giving everybody Japamalas today. Why on the Japamalas? I want to chant all day long. So that is certainly the goal. But when we chant on Mala, a few things are happening. First, we are engaging the sense of touch with holding the Mala, which is helping us because the mind is going to wander everywhere when we're chanting. But when I'm holding the beads, it is reminding me that I'm in the chanting time now, not making dinner, driving the car, doing something else. 2, when I chant out loud. So when I chant out loud, I also engage my ears in hearing the holy names. So I'm engaging not only my tongue in chanting, but my sense of touch and also my ears. And if you have book, pictures, you can even engage the sense of sight. And in this way, the more senses we engage, the more controlled the mind will become. And still, trust me, it will wander. But don't worry. Just keep doing it. The more you do, the more we practice, the better we'll be able to control the mind. Just like if you go play tennis, the first time you play tennis, you hit the ball, it went everywhere but straight. What do? Keep practicing. Keep practicing. And eventually it will go where you want it. The mind is like that. Trust me, the mind will wander. Don't worry. Just keep bringing it back. Keep bringing it back. But by chanting on beads, it helps to regulate our chanting. And the goal in regulated chanting is that when we sufficiently purify the heart, then we can become spontaneous in chanting. Just like a dancer. When a dancer is going through dance and practice, what do? They repeat the movements over and over and over again. And it seems almost monotonous. It's just wondering why I came here to dance. And the teacher is saying, no, you must first learn the habits, make them second nature. Then you can flow with the music and dance very, poetically. So like that, our chanting, when we take to a regulated process, it is for the purpose of purifying the heart. So at some point, you'll then become very spontaneous. So this Japamala chanting is the sadhana that is extremely critical. And I try to say, avoid double-handed chanting. What does that mean? One hand in a bead bag and one hand on the phone. Put the phone away. Put it on silent so you're not hearing beep, 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 beep. Take off the Apple Watch or whatever you might have just for this time. And just concentrate. Whatever comes in those messages, you can handle it. But give yourself this break for the mind. And trust me, you'll find extraordinary power. And finally, any of you have gone on big hikes? Like a big hiking? Yeah, So we know when we start and we look up at where we're going to go, we think, oh, I'm never going to get there. But then what do? You just start. And you just start walking. And you start looking up and, man, this is impossible. And then after some point, we all get to a point in that hike. And we look back and we're shocked. I've come this far? Wow, I didn't think that was possible. And then we keep going. And then we get all the way finally up to the top. And we're like, wow, that was worth it. Nobody ever regrets the effort it took to get to the top. Every single person doubts at the beginning whether they can get to the top. But once there, that effort was worth it because the experience was great. And it didn't happen in one step. It happened in a lot of small steps. So what's the mountaintop of chanting? The mountaintop of chanting is coming to a minimum dosage. When you go to the doctor, they give you a dosage to cure your disease. If you take less than a dosage, what happens? Or it doesn't work. So you have to get to a dosage. So the dosage for chanting, brace yourself, is the top of the mountain. We're starting at the base. But this is where we want to end up. Is chanting this Japamala 16 rounds. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. And of course, we immediately think, impossible. Just as we thought, getting to the top of that mountain was impossible. But how do we get there? Just start. Just do one. One a day. And then slowly you'll see, I can squeeze a second one in. Let me do 2. And then you'll do 3 and 4. And by the time you get to about 8, you're going to realize, whoa, I didn't think that was possible. Just like looking back and thinking, I've come this far. And then, get to the 16. And when you get there, you will think, what took me so long? Why did I have doubt? This was it. Because Krishna will be reciprocating with us all along the way. When he sees us giving time to him, he gives time back to us by simplifying our life, finding it. Yes, we'll have some challenges, some obstacles along the way. But just stay on the path. Keep walking. Keep moving. And you'll reach it. Don't be deterred by the height of the mountain. Be confident in that journey and path that many others have been before and will follow also. And this we can do, you'll find perfection in your spiritual process. So finally, diet. So, last week we talked about making our home a temple. And said, make Krishna the center of your house. Not the exact center of the floor plan, but in our heart. And a critical way of that is, when we invite somebody to our home, what do?
Good food.
We feed them. Right? But it goes beyond that. Where is our food coming from? By whose mercy is this food coming? It's coming from the Lord. Who is providing the rains? Who is providing the sun? Who is providing the seeds? The soils, everything. Yes, we do our part through agriculture, through trade, commerce, to get them. But ultimately it's dependent on the Lord. So like that, when we take foods and we first offer it to the Lord, one, we get a great benefit. Because if we don't, actually Krishna says in the 3rd chapter, 13th verse, that one who eats food not offered to the Lord, they're thieves, they're stealing. You have to do yajna, some sacrifice. But even more than that, when we offer to the Lord with love, he appreciates. I gave the example, I think, of the ice cream. Right? When the child buys an ice cream cone with the father's money, but then offers the first bite to the father, the father is touched and pleased by the offering of love. He doesn't think, well, it's my money that you bought the ice cream. He doesn't underline. And Krishna doesn't think, well, there's all my resources that you're growing this. No. He's touched by the love, the thought to offer to him first. So when we offer foods to the Lord, it is also part of bhakti. It helps us eradicate past sins. It purifies the heart. It has a very powerful effect. And this we have to do every day anyways. But the beauty of offering foods to the Lord in our home is this, that the ripple effect is significant. Let me explain. So when you take 5 minutes and offer what you have cooked first to the Lord, what is the benefit? Well, all the work we did in the office to earn the money to buy that food becomes as bhakti. The effort we went to drive to the store, pick out the vegetables, stand in line, and drive home, all that effort also becomes considered bhakti. The effort to chop and prepare everything becomes bhakti. Even washing the pots and vessels afterwards becomes bhakti. By the 5-minute process of offering, we get the benefit of all those other activities. Because the Lord sees that was all in part to make this meal for me. So he's very magnanimous, very generous. The same thing when we make our home a temple. The work we do in the office to pay the rent, that's considered devotional service. Because we're paying for the Lord's residence. When we vacuum the living room and clean up even after the kids and ourselves, that's part of the devotional service. Because now I'm not cleaning my home, I'm cleaning whose home? Krishna's home. So this is how we can practically we bring spirituality into our whole life, it's not a change of our activities, it's a change of our consciousness. And if we do, profound effects. So this offering of foods is very powerful. So how to do it? Well, first we have to offer what Krishna eats. Right? If somebody comes to your home, you don't offer them what you eat, you offer them what? They eat. So what does Krishna eat? He says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam, yome bhaktya parayachati. There's a fruit, flower, leaf, or water. These are the foodstuffs I eat. So we offer what he eats. And there are some things he doesn't eat. In the vegetarian line, this is sometimes the, oh no. But it's, we can work through it, don't worry. There are workarounds. But he doesn't take onion, garlic, mushrooms, pre-cooked foods. And, when we offer to the Lord, we have to offer without tasting. So this becomes sometimes stressful. But I tell you, when you cook, you just meditate. And you're cooking, and you ask Srimati Radharani, okay, I'm putting salt, you tell me how much. I'm putting masala, you tell me how much. And she'll guide you. Trust me. If you surrender and ask, she'll guide you. And you'll be shocked at how amazing the preparations come out. But we should not taste along the way. Sometimes we do have a good intent, right? But we should not taste the foods before we offer to the Lord. If you have doubt, one practical way that many people do when they offer, they'll put a little bit of salt, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of chili on the plate. In case anything is light or extra, Krishna can add to the plate. That's a nice way that if we have some doubts, you can put on the side like that. And that way, Krishna can adjust. Okay? And again, is he accepting the amount of salt and masala and oil and flour? What's he accepting?
No.
Yome bhaktya parayachati. He says, I accept fruit, flour, leaf, and water when it is offered with love and devotion. So it is the love that he is accepting. So don't be so hung up on it. What to offer in? We should have a dedicated plate and spoon that we use to put in front of the Lord. So not a plate that we eat out of, that we have eaten out of. So ideally some kind of steel plate or silver is great, but steel is also fine. Worst case, you can use a paper plate. We have not used it, but nothing that we have eaten out of. So we offer with that. And if you have tulsi leaves, if not, you can ask. We can provide you some. But tulsi leaves, Krishna has benedicted Tulsi Devi that he accepts all the offerings when offered with tulsi leaves. So that is nice. And there are a few mantras you can chant. We'll show you them in some time. But the main mantra is this: My dear Lord, I am offering to you with love and devotion. Will you please accept it? Remember, mantras are one thing, but sentiment is more important. So we can chant mantras, but if we're not understanding what we are chanting is less important. So in the beginning, I like to say, we should offer this way. My dear Lord, I'm offering to you with love and devotion. Will you please accept it? If we begin offering like this, we'll set our consciousness right. Later, the mantras will begin to recite. And those are less important than the mood. When we do this, big effect. So just start and try it. I have a document that I've written if you like more details and some things. But again, keep it simple. Start. But the foods you prepare at home, begin to offer. You'll find great benefit in purification. And this is the ripple effect of prasadam is very significant. So these ABCDs, this is what we do. And by doing it, it is guaranteed to be very transformational for all of us. You define what transformation means, write it down, put it in an envelope, and open it up 6 months later after having practiced the ABCDs. And you determine for yourself, is this working? Is there a real tangible effect? And I'm offering to you today a money-back guarantee. This is our practical application. So now, as I mentioned, our journey is really just beginning. So next week, we're going to begin with an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. So we'll do the Bhagavad Gita. So, like I said, we'll be distributing Bhagavad Gitas today. And also Japamala, so you can bring your Bhagavad Gita and your Japamala each week with you as we go very auspicious to carry the Bhagavad Gita and your Japamala. You can put it in a bag or something. So, and a few etiquette with Bhagavad Gita specifically. It's the Supreme Lord. The names are non-different. Right? Krishna speaking here. So we don't put it on the floor because we stuck there. So keep it here. If you want, you can bring in your bag one cloth, and then you can put the book on the cloth. So I always bring my book in a bag like this. I have a stand. If you don't have a stand, you can use just a cloth or something. But something to keep the book. And again, is consciousness. Right? This is not an ordinary literature. And then your Japamala, same thing. We don't keep it on the floor or anything like that. And but some basic things. And again, the main thing to be focused on is don't worry so much initially about am I making mistakes? Just try your best. A father only wants his children to try their best. We're all children of the Lord. So just try our best and then inquire, about the little details, how to do this, how to do that. And in time it'll all be revealed. But don't get so hung up on the rules and regulations. Get hung up on the intent and the daily practice. Because as good as our daily practice, as good will be our results. Okay? So, I guess just a couple more announcements. So we have Gita Jayanti coming up on December 4th. And then the following week, on December 11th, we have our annual Shloka competition. So the kids will present, and we have it broken up by age group and what shlokas. It's a very sweet competition to see all the kids, and it's a competitions, and not it's a fun-loving, spirited opportunity where the children will be practicing these verses. So they're started today, practicing these verses, and they'll be organized into small groups. And then they'll have a chance on stage to recite, and they'll actually answer questions on their verses. So we'll train them in not only the Sanskrit but the English. So you'll find one thing I'm really a big believer in is that we should learn the English, because Sanskrit is not likely our native tongue for most of us. So we should know what we are chanting and what the purport is. So we will teach them both the English and the Sanskrit. And then it's a very sweet way to actually. So that'll take place each week. We'll be practicing from now until December 11th. I think we talked about this last time, but we have our kids camp on Thanksgiving weekend. That's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so the kids enjoy a wide array of activities, and starting from age, I think, 4 and up. And it's a 3-day camp from morning to afternoon. We have transportation available. So we've got some buses that will take the children down and bring them back. And if you'd like to volunteer and help any of the days, you're most welcome to participate since it's a holiday. It's a very fun experience, and your kids will love it. We've been doing this for many years. I don't think it's how many years. I think over 15 years. It's our most successful children's program, and it sells out every year. We do have limited capacity just because of the number of teachers and things that we can accommodate. So if you're interested, you can go to KrishnaKidsCamp.com, and it's spelled like it is up there, KRSNA, kidscamp.com. And if you have any friends who would like to join, please encourage them, they can come. It is meant for newcomers and those who have been coming for some time. And I assure you, your kids will be begging you to bring you back next year. I can guarantee you. And then finally tomorrow, for anyone who's interested, we're doing our second part. So some of you came for the Damodar Leela discussion. So tomorrow we'll be doing a discussion on Govardhan Leela. So why Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill and the whole story and pastime behind that. So we'll be narrating that pastime tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Balaji Ramachandra Prabhu's house, which is at 4902 Chadbury Court. I'll post this in WhatsApp as well. But if anybody would like to attend, you're more than welcome. And you're welcome to bring anyone. And then we'll, of course, be offering ghee lamps afterwards. I think that's it. So, any questions for today? Comments? Yes. Yes.
Very nice for our class, Prabhu, and we thoroughly enjoyed all of the sessions, and wanting more all the time. My question about the dates, Prabhu. How to clean the dates? If I have to clean,
You can soak them in water.
we can do it.
Yeah, you can. So, you know, these are the beads. And you can, if you need to clean them, you can soak them in water. And I'll show you all some basic processes of chanting. But yeah, you can clean them in water. Yes.
Regarding the prasad, you told you mentioned that garlic, mushroom, and onion should not be used for the prasad. But whereas there is some medicinal property in that one, why cannot be used for the prasad?
Yeah. So there are medicinal properties for things. So we have to balance what's good for the body and what's good for the soul. So all foods are organized into Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. And this Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. So each food group, each food item comes in one of the modes of material nature. And onions and garlics, they are classified in the mode of passion. Yeah. So the more we consume in that, it fuels this mode of passion, which creates agitations in the body. So while there may be some medicinal properties associated with that, it has the detrimental effects in the process of our spiritual life. So what we know is that whatever medicinal effects are there are other remedies that are very, very potent that will not negate the benefits of that, but also not incur the inability to offer it. But Krishna does not eat them. So we cannot offer them. If you have them, he doesn't eat it. That's ultimately the answer. But whatever there is, and for those of you who are interested, we have cooking, things you can set up to show how to prepare common items that maybe have historically been made with this, because we all grew up eating, but how to compensate. And you can see all the prasadam we've been honoring today has not had any onion or garlic, and I think all we agree has been very sumptuous and delicious. And so you can find it. There are wonderful ways to prepare without it. So we're happy to teach and show how to do that. Yes.
I have two questions.
Yes.
First is the offering.
Yes.
In Treta Yuga, when Rama went to the forest,
Shabri.
Shabri offered. Yeah. This I have been asking
Yes.
from several people. Okay, why this has happened here? This is the example.
Yes.
Why you were telling.
Yes. Yeah, so she had a very, very special relationship with the Lord. And her level of purity cannot be compared to our level of purity. So when one purifies to a state, some of the initial rules and regulations become trumped by that purity. I'll give you an example. If you're driving on a road and you see a red light, what are you supposed to do?
Stop.
But if there's a police officer there saying, go through, what do?
You go.
Why?
Because police officer itself say
Because police officer is a higher authority than
signal.
the signal, right? So, like that, there are sometimes levels of rules that apply at different stages. Right? So she is a very advanced devotee who is doing this out of the epitome of pure love. Her faith, doing it every day for so long, right? So we cannot imitate that behavior. Right? And that's the exception. But we understand the Vedic principles are prescribed very clearly. Right? So we cannot take. That's why we follow that. But there will always be, you'll find, certain situations where a particular rule may be transgressed. But that's based on a higher principle that we are aspiring to reach at some point. The cowherd boys, in joking with Krishna when they would eat lunch, they would eat their laddu. Oh, my mother made a good laddu. Krishna, you want to try it? He would say yes. They would say, close your eyes. And Krishna would close his eyes, and they would take a flower and stick it in his mouth. No. how you can joke. They're on a rasa that is very sweet, right? So that's a transcendental thing like that. So we understand there are some different. Your second question?
Some people offering the food, if they are preparing and then they are offering a little bit, and then after the offering done, then they will taste the food, then they will offer to the devotee. Is that right way or?
Yeah, it's okay. Their idea is that they want to please the devotees also, and so they're doing their best. But I'm telling you, when you cook in a surrendered mood, understanding that Srimati Radharani, she is the principal cook for Krishna. Right? So when we prepare something to offer to the Lord, we're actually working under her guidance. So when we take her guidance through that emotional connection, she'll guide us. But yes, if you have to adjust something, it's not so hard and fast. But we have to offer to Krishna untasted. And like I said, you can have a few spices if you like, on the side in the plate. You can put some salt, pepper, chili, lemon, like that, just to Krishna can adjust if he likes. And Krishna has no cholesterol and those sorts of things, so you can cook. But we also understand something. So this question comes, right? When we're cooking at home, there's a practical scenario, which is we're also cooking for our family, right? So yes, we're not going to cook like so we might cook things that we have certain diet restrictions, certain health issues. We cook that way and offer to Lord, no problem. In the temple, when we cook for Krishna, we cook for His pleasure exclusively, right? So that's the difference. That's why the temple service is also very important, because there at home we do the best we can within the practical realities of Grahastha life. But there's practical realities. In the temple, we have a very set standard. Breakfast is at this time, lunch is at this time, snack is at this time, dinner, eat. Very precise. How many offerings are at home? Sometimes we're busy, we make a small, simple offering. Sometimes we have more time, we make a more, we adjust. That's practical, right? So home versus temple, a little bit different standard. But the mood is the same. Does that make sense? Yes?
What is the meaning of Mahamantra? Is it simply taking the name of the Lord, or there is more to it?
Yeah, there's more to it. So Srila Prabhupada gives us the purport of Hare Krishna. So Hare is invocating the Hara form, which is the energy of Krishna, specifically the pleasure energy, referring to Srimati Radharani. So in Hara, we say as Hare, we are invoking Srimati Radharani. And through Krishna, we are invoking Krishna. Through Rama, we are invoking both Lord Balaram and Lord Ramachandra. So like that. And the 16 words, there are 16 layers of illusion that cover us from our real knowledge. And these 16 words combine to this powerful mantra that help pierce through all 16 layers so that we can get to the absolute truth. And again, mantras have to be prescribed in Shastra. They cannot be one's fanciful imagination. Let me design a new modern mantra. There's some phenomenon taking place. That is, mantras must be authorized by Shastra. Very important.
This Mahamantra, in which scripture is it mentioned?
Kala Shanta Upanishad.
Like when we offer it to the Lord, we put the plate in front of Him, and later we take and mix it with the whole making. Is that fine?
Yeah. So what you're doing, so the plate of, we call it bhoga before it's offered. So we don't say I'm going to offer prasad. It's prasad after. So I offer bhoga, honor prasad. Offer bhoga, honor prasad. So when I offer bhoga to the Lord, it's on a plate. That what comes back, that's Mahaprasad, because it's coming directly from the plate. So what we do is when we mix it with the other, everything gets sort of intertwined, it all becomes kind of qualified as Maha. That's why I do it. Otherwise, sometimes we honor that separately, And then, so, either way is fine. Yes.
My mother used to make the boga and then put all in the food, and then I don't know why, how it can be possible that you offered that one and then putting into that and how it will mix. There is no logic behind it. I'm stuck with that question. What is the logic? What happened?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
I used to think like when she offered the boga, then the Mahaboga,
Yeah.
she will put into all other things, then it will purify.
Oh, it's not purifying it. So once you offer, let's say you have a pot of dal, and you offer one bowl of dal, that whole pot becomes prasad. Because it's offered from that, so that whole pot is prasad. That bowl is mahaprasad. So when I mix it, now I'm just mixing the mahaprasad with it, and it becomes all, but it's already purified. It's prasad. And prasad is extraordinarily purified. Extraordinarily purified. So that's what it is. There's no science or no and again, Mahaprasad is very, very powerful. Prasad is very, very powerful. Just take prasad. Yes.
Prabhu, question on the prasad.
Yes.
So sometimes we, like you said, we should not taste the prasad.
Yes.
Sometimes we smell it, right? How is it? Is that okay or not okay?
You should not. Now, naturally, when you're cooking, smells are going to come. That you cannot avoid. So you don't cook like this. But we should, we should try not. Yeah, because that's a way of it. Again, trust me. Once you get used to cooking this way and we meditate, it'll be okay. Technically, we should not smell it. Just like a flower we offer to the Lord, we should not smell the flower first. Krishna should smell it first, then we can smell it as prasad. Any other questions on ABCDs? Or anything we discuss in? Yes?
So book reading, what books? I know like Bhagavad Gita is the
Yeah.
main book that we have to start.
Yes.
After that,
Yeah, so Bhagavad Gita we can read, Srimad Bhagavatam we can read, Chaitanya Charitamrita we can read, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shri Upanisha, Shri Upadeshamrita. There's quite a few scriptures that are recommended for reading. I always suggest that we start with Bhagavad Gita, develop a good working knowledge of this Bhagavad Gita. Those of you, after some time, if you really want to study these scriptures, we also have a more intensive study course called Bhakti Shastri. This is in which we study Bhagavad Gita, Shri Upanishad, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Shri Upadeshamrita, 4 books in a kind of an academic study. It's a 2-year course where we write exams, homeworks, and things like that. So but my recommendation is we start with reading Bhagavad Gita, develop a strong fundamental foundation of Shastra, and this Bhagavad Gita can be read in Bhagavatam in accompaniment. So what it is Bhagavad Gita contains all the rules and all the different answers and processes. The Bhagavatam is through stories, how those are applied. So they can be read in parallel, right? Because one is the regulation, think of Krishna. Okay, then in Srimad Bhagavatam we see how different personalities have come to the process of meditating on Krishna and what the result was. We see it put in practice. So that's yes.
So in the past, I've seen when offering prasad,
Yes.
also to
Yes. Yes.
Is that recommended?
Yes. Yeah, so if we can, we should offer tulsi leaves with our boga, because Krishna has benedicted Tulsi Devi that he will accept all offerings that accompany Tulsi Devi. If you are in a bind, in America we have these seasons that sometimes become difficult with Tulsi. You can try to acquire dry Tulsi and use them. But if you are in an absolute bind, beg for forgiveness. But if we can, in time, we can start finding a way. In your home where you have an altar, you have a temple, if you can maintain Tulsi Maharani in your home, it's very, very auspicious. I will tell you, she will stay wherever there is bhakti being practiced. So as we practice devotional service, Tulsi Maharani will grow very nicely, and we can guide you on how to care for her. She's very delicate, and she's not made for Detroit climate, but she stays in Detroit also. All our homes, we have Tulsi Maharani, so we can guide you that. But yes, if you can acquire some Tulsi, if you need some, you can ask somebody. They have actually we have lots, right? Because as the leaves fall, we collect them, and so we can both give them out, but also use them in the winter months. Yes.
Prabhuji, is it okay to bite the tulsi leaves or should we swallow?
If you can swallow them, it's best. Because she's a personality, so our consciousness, and we try not to bite into her. But sometimes, depending on the manjaris or things, it's hard to do that. So, but if you can, it's best. Anything else? Yes.
Prabhuji, I was trying to hear the question Prabhuji just asked. So that means when you have the leaf and you shouldn't bite on it.
Yeah, chew the leaf.